Hi, this is Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Matt Barry from ESPN. You're getting ready to watch one of the best college football podcasts ever. It's the Harris Highlight Show.
You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're listening to the Harris Highlight Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Is still shared from last week. There we go. This is the Harris Highlight Show. Join me this week is our college football analyst, Lyle Goldstein, our college football expert, Josh Schaefer. This show is off the rails, but that's okay because this college basketball game's got me pretty much all lopsided. I'm your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Gentlemen, we're doing a live reaction tonight to the playoff rankings. We're going to be watching the rankings as they unfold before us, and we're going to be sharing our immediate reactions, something that we used to do a few years back at ASU. We do a show, I think, at 7, 1 hour after they do the rankings. So we're going to be talking rankings in a few minutes, but before that, how's everyone's Tuesday night going over there?
Oh, just a lovely, lovely Tuesday night out here in the Vale, and we're hanging out. Got the place to myself tonight because Braden is off calling the Cal Baptist Lancers opening night game. They're expecting a sellout crowd out in beautiful Riverside tonight.
I have to know, who are they playing on opening night? If ASU's playing Portland, who is Cal Baptist playing?
Well, that's a great – it's interesting that you ask, Blake, because the Lancers – Lance the heck up, are facing Chomp, the mighty Gators of San Francisco State. D2 San Francisco State. So,
oh boy.
I have a question on that.
Oh yes, Lyle. Let me answer sarcastically.
Aren't they supposed to be called either CBU or California Baptist? Maybe you can ask Braden this question, but I swear I heard that they don't like the term Cal Baptist or something like that.
That's a great question. I believe that doesn't sound wrong. I think if anything, they would want Cal Baptist over California Baptist, right?
I agree, but yeah, that's just what I heard through the grapevine.
Is it like those people from San Francisco that hate being referred to as San Fran? How that's like apparently a thing? If you don't like, they don't like you saying, oh yeah, I was in San Fran, or how's San Fran? Supposedly that's a thing that I've heard.
Well, I don't like when people say like, oh, you're from Cali. I'm like, no, I'm from California. Like, I hate Cali. I think that's such a
people from Cali say they're from Cali.
I think that's dumb. I've never said that.
I've just got to say, transitioning really quick from Cali to the Valley before we get started on college football tonight, can the rest of the country take a page out of Arizona's book and not change their clocks? Because it was pouring rain here today, and I kid you not, it was dark at 3:30 in the afternoon. Like, come on. Like
I think that's just
ridiculous.
a Seattle problem.
We had a 3:00 game on Sunday, and when I left the building, we went over to the office across the street after our game. And by the time we left, I got in the car and thought, oh man, like it is late. I drove home, sat down, and Sunday night football was still on. Not only was it still on, it was halftime. And I'm like, man, when is this game going to end? It was like 6:45, and I was gassed, and it was pitch black outside.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I really hate the clocks changing. I really do. But that's just me.
Yeah, it did throw me off, though, in Arizona when all of a sudden, like, Sunday football games started at 11 a.m. And, you know, Sunday night football would be like at 6:30 p.m., which I actually kind of preferred. The guys that are going to be getting to the rankings in a couple of minutes. So a couple of questions I have for you guys before we see them. First question, are the UTSA Roadrunners going to crack the top 25 this week?
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, my money would be on no.
Yeah, a lot of people are campaigning for the committee to rank UTSA. I unfortunately don't think they're going to be ranked. All right, guys. So we had a pretty crazy weekend of college football. Some big time upsets entering this week. Let's say you're on the committee of 13 people and your vote is, massive. Who would your top 4 teams be entering this week, and who would you have right on the outside at 5 and 6?
Lyle, you want to take this one first?
Sure. I think if it was up to me, it would be Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Cincinnati in that order. I think I said that's what I thought it should have been last week too, if we're just talking about the best 4 teams. Do I think that's what the committee's going to unveil? No.
I am kind of in the same boat with Lyle. I've been a big proponent of putting Cincinnati in. For me, I would have Georgia. I would have Bama. And then here's where things get a little bit interesting. I do have Ohio State, but I think I'd put Oklahoma over Cincinnati at this point. I just want to see a really big, convincing win from Cincinnati here. According to the AP poll, they're actually ranked 2nd. So that's interesting. I would like to see Cincinnati top 4. I kind of have them and Oklahoma back and forth at 4 and 5. Last week, I would have had Cincy at 4. Obviously, I joined the show late. This week, I'd probably have them at 5. That's just kind of where I'm at right now. However, like I mentioned last week, I'm going to ignore the phrase, the committee has set a precedent, because they ignore their precedent from year to year. But what I will say is, regardless of what the rankings are, Oregon and Ohio State, like I said last week, are going to be 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, whatever it might be. Oregon and then Ohio State in the rankings wherever they come in.
Yeah, I agree in 1 and 2, Georgia, Alabama. 3, I would go Ohio State. We were all, high on Cincinnati last week, saying they deserve to be in, which again, great win against Notre Dame, but they kind of struggled again this past weekend. I think it was only a 2-point game at halftime. I want to say they ended up pulling out a bit, but they're not doing themselves any favors. It's been 3 weeks in a row now. They've been favored by, I think, 28 points 2 weeks in a row. Last week, I think they were favored by 23 points, I want to say. Again, good teams win, great teams cover. I tell that. That should have been my yearbook quote. And they're just not helping themselves out. I would go Oklahoma right at 5, just because I do give Cincinnati the credit for that Notre Dame win. I have Oregon at 6, just because, again, I don't think Oregon is better than those teams. So it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be shocked if Cincinnati drops a spot after another, struggle this week. Oklahoma, they have looked good since making the switch to Caleb Williams. Again, Ohio State. I know people are going to say they struggled against Nebraska, but I said this in our group chat. Nebraska is the greatest 3 and 6 team I've ever seen. I don't know if Josh sent it in our group chat or it was just something I saw on Twitter, but maybe Lyle actually sent it in our group chat or something. I can't remember. But Nebraska has, I think, outscored its opponents in conference play, or is that something that sounds familiar?
I don't remember what the exact number was, but they've outscored their opponents by a fairly substantial margin and are 1 and 6 or 1 and 5 in conference or something like that. It's not pretty.
Yeah, Nebraska, I think, has lost all 6 of their games. I think they've lost by 7 or less, and they've been in each one. So I'm not going to hold Ohio State, too much flack for that close game, but it's going to be interesting to see for sure. I know we were talking about the AP poll earlier and how we were kind of against it, and we kind of looked to it and go, well, they have Cincinnati at 2, they have UTSA at 15. I don't know if you guys saw this in the group chat the other night. I think I sent it kind of late. And for those of you viewers who, don't really follow the AP poll too closely, an AP poll voter had Oklahoma State at 3. So that's the main reason we want to pump the brakes with the AP poll, because they had Oklahoma State at 3.
I mean, it's not really a fair argument because every year is different, but it's just like I always say, do we really need to see Oklahoma in there again? I know Caleb Williams has been great.
No, this was Oklahoma State, or unless you're just talking about Oklahoma in general.
Oh, I was talking about Oklahoma in general. Did you say Oklahoma State? Somebody voted for them
the Oklahoma State Cowboys were ranked at 3 in someone's AP poll.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that might be a little high. But we were talking about Oklahoma earlier, so just to add, I guess, again, I feel like we kind of know what's going to happen with that one. We've seen it. We've seen that story a couple times
right
now, so.
Well, they did kind of almost have us a couple years ago in the Rose Bowl against Georgia when they went to overtime. They almost proved us wrong.
That's true.
But
Just the other games haven't gone well.
But their defense allowed like 50-something points. So as you guys can see in the comments, UTSA is officially in. They come in at number 23. So the Roadrunners, they barely squeak in. They finally get the respect they deserve. Just based on what I'm looking at right now, some interesting ones. They're showing 16 through 20. Purdue's at number 19. So Purdue's all of a sudden quietly climbing up the rankings. They play Ohio State this weekend. Unfortunately, I think it's at Ohio State. So I'm not necessarily going to say the Buckeyes are an upset watch because Purdue is where teams go to die in the rankings. But aside from that, NC State at 16, Auburn at 17, Wisconsin at 18 by some miracle, Iowa at 20. And we got 11 through 15 right now. I'll just rattle off real quickly. Wake Forest, they fell to number 12. A&M's up to 11. Baylor's at 13. BYU's at 14. Ole Miss is at 15. Guys, any just immediate takeaways, reactions from those few that I just rattled off right there?
I'm not opposed to any of them. I mean, there were a couple from last week that I was surprised. But I definitely like Purdue being in there at the moment. They've obviously earned it with 3 top 5 wins this year already, and have a chance to maybe get another one this week.
Let's see. And as we said right here, I missed this one at the beginning. So Utah, the Utes, they come in at 24. And, we kind of joked about Utah in the Pac-12 a couple of weeks ago. They're quietly, like low-key, might not be a hotter team in college football right now. I'm not going to say that they're playing better than, some of these top dogs, but Utah has just been steamrolling through everyone they've been playing in recent weeks. Now, granted, ASU, Stanford, there's another one in there. I can't remember who they played. Not
UCLA.
UCLA. Again, not, New Year's 6 teams by any means, but they're winning by 30 to 40 with ease, and Utah's looking good. It looks like, for the most part, they're going to run through the rest of their schedule, no problem, but keep an eye out for Utah against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. At this rate, it might look like that's going to be Oregon's best chance of reaching the college football playoff, winning that game, but Utah, they might play spoiler, and again, it's all about playing the best football when you're playing them, and who knows, Utah might be pulling off some upsets the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of having Utah in there. I do have to say, I think a couple of their early wins, especially, oh my God, that ASU win was just horrific for ASU. It was the worst second half of football I've seen in a long time for ASU. But yeah, I mean, they look good for UCLA. They beat up on Stanford. I don't think they're a great team. I think they have a few important wins, and a phrase that I like to use, when we were doing a lot of our conference previews at the beginning of the year, they're beating the teams that they should beat.
Right. So
I think that's fair. I was going to say, I'm seeing Oklahoma State at 10 and Notre Dame at 9 so far.
Yeah, and Oklahoma just came in at number 8. So the committee, they're still holding strong. They're still holding firm that Oklahoma is number 8 in the country. I want to ask you a question right now. If Notre Dame were to play Oklahoma, let's just say this weekend, who do you think would win that matchup?
Probably Oklahoma. This Notre Dame team, the fact that they really might go 11-1, I think is a borderline miracle. Because, like I've said all year, I just don't think this is anywhere as close to the caliber of the roster that they've had in years past. Like I've continued to say, like last year's team, I think was really good. They were just nowhere near as good as the 3 teams in front of them. But this team, like after losing their entire offensive line, they've got a bunch of young wide receivers and a lot of guys with a lack of experience. They bring in Jack Cohn. It's just not the same roster. So, Oklahoma, yeah, their defense isn't very good, but that offense can certainly score at will.
Now, if they were playing Spencer Rattler, who would be starting, would you have the same thoughts?
I don't know. That's close. It'd be closer. Notre Dame's defense, to be fair, has been pretty good, but they also haven't seen an offense like that, because I'd say this is one of the years on their schedule where their opponents just haven't been as good.
Right. All right, so we're getting to the top 7 rankings right now. Georgia comes in at number 1, so no surprise. So as you guys can see in the banner, so pretty much after the rankings are done and we give our immediate thoughts, the rest of the show until we get to the pick'ems is pretty much just going to be a Q&A. So any questions you guys have about the college football playoff rankings, about last weekend's game, this upcoming weekend's games, any questions about anything you have in general about why, Josh is into hockey, because that's very rare nowadays. And MJ's going nuts because Oregon comes in at 3, followed by Alabama at 2. So no surprises really there, I guess. The committee's kind of just moving up teams one spot from where they were last week. We all talked about it. If you guys missed it, I don't think any of us had Oregon in our top 4, especially at 3, if I recall correctly. So Oregon comes in at number 3. Ohio State comes in at number 4. So again, it looks like essentially for the most part, everyone's just moving up a ranking. So I guess the committee still views the Oregon's head-to-head win over Ohio State in regards to the rankings. But again, I think we all agree that Ohio State is playing a lot better than Oregon is right now. So Cincinnati comes in at number 5. So again, it looks like everyone's moving up one ranking. So guys, for the most part, what are your thoughts about the committee not making any real drastic changes? Essentially just, and again, I assume that Michigan's going to go to 6. Michigan State's going to go to 7. They haven't announced that yet. But again, not making any bold moves, just pretty much taking what everyone's ranking was last week and moving them up one spot.
I think it makes sense. Like I said last week, I don't agree with it. I don't disagree with everyone moving up one spot, especially when Michigan State lost last week. I just don't agree with these top 4 rankings in general. Kind of like we just said, if I were to give my own rankings, I would not have Oregon above Ohio State, but that's where they're valuing that head-to-head win right now. I don't think Oregon's a top 3 team in the country, but given what they did last week, I think this makes a lot of sense. And this is basically what I expected coming into this week. And of course, I mean, if you're just moving up teams, you're going to keep Oregon ahead of Ohio State by 1, which makes sense given what we saw last week, and seeing Cincinnati at 5 makes sense. So given our top 4 and now Cincinnati coming in at 5, this is basically what I expected to see.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is this unveiling was just pretty uneventful. There was nothing crazy that happened. Everybody just moved up a spot. And there's not like a whole lot to talk about in terms of the wow factor. Michigan comes in at 6. Michigan State comes in at 7 after their loss. This is what I expected it to be. If it were up to me, like I said at the start of the show, I would have put Cincinnati in there. But this is what I thought the committee would do because Oregon was already in the top 4. They won. I don't think they looked very good in that win, but they did move up a spot. And as a result, Ohio State follows.
So real quick, Blake, I now have an issue. If the whole thing was valuing head-to-head wins, shouldn't Michigan State be higher than Michigan in these rankings? Even though Michigan State's going to come in at 7 and Michigan comes in at 6, even with that head-to-head loss to Sparty.
You would think.
Who even knows?
But then again, does the committee value being undefeated? Which obviously they value being undefeated in this sense because they're one spot behind Michigan. But again, like you said, the head-to-head win, obviously it's a difference maker in Oregon being above Ohio State, but it's not a difference maker in Michigan State, which
makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I will say, for this week, yes, 100%. Michigan State should probably still be over Michigan if they value ranked wins. Like we always say, we don't really know what they value, and just give us the automatic bids already. I will say in terms of Michigan State, they do still pretty much control their own destiny because they still play Ohio State, and if they end up winning the Big Ten, they can get in there at the end. So it wasn't a good loss this past weekend, even though Purdue's ranked now. But they're not done by any stretch.
Yeah, so who knows? For the most part, I'm sure they're going to have someone on right now, and they're going to explain why this team's there or whatnot. So, again, if you guys have any questions about the college football playoff rankings from this week, anything from last week, this upcoming weekend, any questions in general about anything, if you need advice on asking out a girl, hey, no 3 better guys than to help you out with that right here. So, again, any
not
questions
a group of guys I'd trust more.
Not a good group of guys I trust more. So again, any questions you guys have, we'll be answering questions for about 10, 15 minutes before we get into our pick'ems. But guys, I have a couple questions I want to throw your way. Georgia's clearly the number one team in the country. They look unstoppable. I think that they're likely going to win the college football championship. They're likely going to be in the final, I would say. Out of all these teams that are fighting for a playoff spot that are just on the outside, obviously it likely I don't think it'll be Alabama because they're going to face each other in the SEC title game. Who knows? Maybe the committee will give us a rematch between them and Bama at 1-4. But who do you think has any realistic shot of taking down Georgia from that one spot? Because I think for the most part, this is the most beatable Bama's been in years. And then obviously with all these other teams, anything can happen. It's going to be someone that has to take down Georgia. Who do you think maybe has the best chance of doing that, not named Bama, since they'll have to play in the SEC title game?
If it's me, I think it's Ohio State, because you look at that Georgia defense and you have to look across on the other side of the ball and say, what offense can kind of challenge them and give them any sort of a run? You look at that Ohio State offense with, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jegba, who one of you guys said this weekend, I mean, this guy's off the charts, and he's like he's the number 3 receiver at this point, and he just went for 200 yards this past weekend. And factor that in with CJ Stroud putting up a Heisman type campaign. He probably won't win, but he'll probably be in the conversation, and 2 pretty good running backs. That's my best guess, especially because that Georgia defense, I mean, top to bottom is so good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's got to be Ohio State up to this point. I don't see Oklahoma having a shot. I just don't know enough about Cincinnati if they'd compete with a team that I think is clearly the number 1 team in the country right now. Again, I like Cincinnati. I would consider them for a top 4 spot. I had them in my top 4 last week. But right now, I think the best option would be Ohio State.
Yeah, I think when looking at the teams that are going to take down Georgia's offense, again, for some reason, they just have a thing for Stetson Bennett, unless JT Daniels is just not as good as we all think he is capable of being. That defense is probably going to go down as one of the best that we've ever seen. I think it's better than that Clemson one from a few years back that we were talking about it being like an all-time defense. So it's going to have to be a team that scores. And Ohio State, they're just on a roll right now. Everything with their offense is clicking. Between Stroud, their 3 wide receivers, TreVeyon Henderson. I mean, we talk about Bijan Robinson being like the number 1 running back in next year's class for 2023, or I guess 2 years from now. TreVeyon Henderson is without a doubt probably the number 1 running back for the 2024 NFL draft. This dude is an absolute stud. So, and their defense isn't as bad as it's been in years past. Ohio State's has a pretty good defense this year. So I agree with both of you guys, as boring as that is. I think if anyone's going to put up a fight against Georgia, just again, because it's going to have to be a really good offense, I think it's going to be Ohio State. But it'll be interesting to see, because again, if Bama goes against Georgia, and let's say Bama loses by 4 points in the SEC title game, the committee is going to, the committee is going to want to put Bama in there still if Bama hangs with Georgia. So we'll have to wait and see. There are a few questions I want to get to. Josh, actually, one of these questions is in regards to what we were talking about before we came on, Scuba Sports. So how much does it suck to be a Cal fan, lose their football game this weekend because of COVID, lose to UC San Diego by 13? I'm assuming the second one has to do with their basketball team, unless they lost to UC San Diego earlier in the season. So for those of you that don't know, well, first off, Arizona ended the
they lost to UCSD 80-67 today.
So Arizona ended their 20-game losing streak. They went back to 2019. They beat Cal this weekend, but I wouldn't, hold too much against Cal because they were missing about 30 players, I think, due to COVID. And this upcoming weekend against USC, their game got rescheduled to December 4th, I believe, because they're still missing a ton of players due to COVID. So I guess you could put an asterisk next to this win. But what's worse, Josh, being Cal and losing to Arizona, or still having this going on and having your game rescheduled? And you said a pretty crazy stat in regards to this whole COVID outbreak that I'll let you share with the fans, because you didn't really give it too much thought and consideration, but some pretty interesting information that this is the middle of November and this is a interesting first potentially of something this year.
Yeah, it's the first COVID cancellation we've had all year, which is crazy to think about given how many we had last year. I think that's super interesting. Of course, USC had a game. There were tons of cancellations in the Pac-12 last year. I think that they were a little more, I think their guidelines, they had stricter guidelines than a lot of the other schools that were playing full seasons in, the ACC and the SEC specifically. But I think it's impressive, just all things considered, that this is our one and only cancellation of the season. I know they're trying to reschedule it for December 4th or something like that. But yeah, I think it's really tough for Cal. Chase Garbers had said something the other day on Twitter. I sent it to our group chat. It was basically like some statement from the Cal players that were like, oh, like, we're upset and here's why. But in his explanation, he did not really explain anything. So I have no clarity on the situation whatsoever from a Cal standpoint. He didn't explain it very well, at least in my opinion, unless I just didn't get that from his statement. But yeah, it's tough for Cal. I think I would rather forfeit to Arizona than go out there and play. Looking at the game, like, that's a tough way to give Arizona their first win. But then I was thinking today from a USC perspective, would you rather play Cal like U of A did and play half their team and beat them up and win going into UCLA week? Or would you rather have a week off and then play UCLA? And that's a genuine question. What would you guys rather do?
Get the win.
See, I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think we have to clarify something. I know the headline is Arizona snaps the longest losing streak in college football. They scored 10 points. Like 10 points at home.
One of the worst games I've ever seen.
They scored, 10 points at home against basically all backups, considering they had like 30 guys out for COVID. Like, that's what it took for the University of Arizona to win a football game which ended with a field storming.
Yeah, a field.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that was funny in general. But 24 players and 5 coaches out for U of A. I would like to say one more thing. This is something that I know for a fact you guys will appreciate. I have a coworker who went to Berkeley. He's a big Cal fan, and when he walked into the office on Saturday, I just said, "Dude," and he said, "Pain." And went and sat on his desk. And here's what you guys will think is funny. I said, "That is the worst football game I have ever seen." And he responded and said, "I was at the Cal TCU Cactus Bowl in person."
Oh God.
That's probably the greatest worst game of all time. Yeah. That was an unreal game.
Yeah, no, I think this weekend it was 0-0 at halftime. I think it was 3-3 with like 4 minutes left in the game. Pain. Absolute pain. Not as much as pain as our buddy Joey Bass. As a Longhorn fan, we suck. What do we do now? So Texas, they're not back. They're close to rock bottom. They're now 2-4 in conference play, which has them currently at 6th out of only 10 teams. They're 4-5 on the season. They're on the verge of missing a bowl after, starting off the season on such a hot, they won one game against a good Louisiana team, and then it kind of spiraled out of control. But none of us, I think, really had Texas as a threat in the college football playoff hunt. I think when we did our preseason predictions, I had Texas with I think I was the most bullish on him. I think I had him at 10 wins. I think you guys had him in 8 or 9, something like that. But I don't think any of us projected them to be a below 500 team. So if you're Texas, you have a great prospect in Bijan Robinson. They looked fine with Casey Thompson at quarterback, but they've just sucked. What do they do?
I don't even know.
You go around the city of Austin to over 100 different stores and companies and brands, and you all get them to sign off on being NIL sponsors of Arch Manning. to get him to Austin, to get him to the University of Texas. That's what you do now. You build for the future. Win the biggest recruiting battle in the last decade.
I don't dislike it. I mean, you got to do something, right?
You might have to. Lyle, I'm going to go to our next comment. I don't know. Josh, you may have seen this as well. Did you guys see on Twitter within the last week how there was that major fight in the Arizona Fall League? How someone charged them out and there was a massive fight?
Yeah, did I see it was Jackson Smith and Jegba's brother? Oh, yeah, there you go.
There you go. So I don't know if, for those of you that don't know, and there's an Arizona Fall League where all of the top baseball prospects go to play for a month. And there was, for some reason, a massive brawl because a guy got hit by a pitch And it turns out it was his brother that charged the mound. And the pitcher's going like, "The hell you doing, dude? It's the Arizona Fall League." And they squared
Who
off.
does he play for?
I'm not sure.
Let's find out.
Yeah, I forget.
I'm not quite sure on that. So let's see here. Let's see if we can see any more, because there's been a lot of questions. I mean, I'm only like 5 minutes back, and a lot of people are going off. Let's go to Thomas Scott right here. This is an interesting one. Does Purdue have a real chance to get into the playoff if they were to beat Ohio State? So looking at this right now, Purdue, they're currently tied for first in the Big Ten West. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Purdue, they're all 4-2 in conference play. I'd have to look up head-to-head, see how everything's looking, but let's just say hypothetically Purdue is able to beat Ohio State this weekend, which again, that's going to be a tall task. They have Northwestern, Indiana to finish off the season. They did lose to Minnesota. They did lose to Wisconsin. So they do have those two. So if they somehow beat Ohio State, run the table, win the Big Ten, is that enough to climb over everyone and find themselves in the college football playoff rankings?
So do they have 2 losses or 3 losses?
So as of right now, they have 3. Oh, they have 3 losses.
Yeah, I don't think so.
2.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think not. One, I say no because they have 3 losses. If they win out and they go 9-3, and they go to the Big Ten championship game and win, that would put them at 10-3. With those wins, maybe if they got help. That's as far as I'll go as maybe.
Yeah. See, I thought they had 2 losses. 2 losses, I would have given them like a slim chance, but I think with 3, it doesn't matter. I think they're done.
By the way, it's Kanan Smith-Njigba. He plays for the Pirates organization, and yesterday he reached base 4 times and helped Peoria win.
Oh, he's a javelina. How about that?
Is he Javelina, Lyle?
Javelina,
Is it Javelina or Javelina?
Actually, now that you say Javelina, I think that's right.
Okay, so wait, it was in Peoria. Was it?
So.
He plays for the Peoria Javelinas. They took first place over the they took on first place Glendale Desert Dogs.
Yeah, I love my Desert Dogs. Those are the ones.
So aren't there the Desert Dogs and the Moon Dogs or something like that? Aren't there 2 dogs in the league?
There's only 5 teams, I think, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6. It's not like
Arizona
teams,
Fall
but...
League teams.
Lyle, we have a personal question. Ray Moore wants to know what is happening in Lyle's house. I'm sure you guys have noticed there were a bunch of people that are kind of walking by up the staircase, and Lyle's actually dealing with a break-in right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty scary. No, I think we're having carpets replaced in a couple rooms. That's why I'm in a different location today. So hope that answers your question.
John McDaniel, what do you think Kansas needs to do to rebuild? My Cats just crushed them, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think Short Round has the perfect answer to this question, guys. They need to run the option. Kansas just needs to go against everything and run the option and just say, you know what? Maybe this will work. Thoughts?
Yes.
I mean, if you're that bad, I don't know why more teams don't try it to try and throw off an opponent and keep you in the game, in all seriousness.
I don't see why not.
Here. Power 5 schools like Kansas and Vandy should run the option to make up for the talent gap they'll never be able to make up.
They got to do something different.
I agree.
So I actually saw a post on, I want to say it was Instagram, and it said which schools have the best like recruit visit photos, like how they let the guys do a photo shoot in the uniform and stuff. Vandy's was not bad, guys. I gotta tell you, they gave them all the swag. The photos look good. Vandy, keep doing the recruit photos, and you might be onto something.
Yeah, there you go, right there. So I'm just trying to go through right now. Here we go. Short Round helped out as well. Jane Spanish is pronounced H, so Josh is right. I mean, I took Spanish for 7 years. I'm sure you guys took it for a combined 6, but I mean, that just shows.
I know it's pronounced with an H, but I don't know if that's how people in Arizona say. I think it's Javelinas. I don't know. You got to remember, we're dealing with people from Arizona here. No offense, but are they going to pronounce it Spanish way, sometimes no.
Yeah, I'm not exactly certain right there. We have time for one or two more questions before we get to our pick'ems. Justin Kerr, what would it take for Oklahoma State to make the college football playoffs? So they just came in at number 10 in the latest playoff rankings. They're currently 8-1 on this season. And guys, looking at their schedule to close out the year, they got TCU, Texas Tech, and then the final week of the season, they play Oklahoma. So by the looks of it, unless Oklahoma were to lose another game, because Baylor's currently 7-2 in conference, it looks like it'd be another game against Oklahoma. So it looks like Oklahoma State would have to beat Oklahoma twice. So if they're able to do that with one loss, a pretty impressive, resume on their part. I think their only loss this year was by 3 points to Iowa State. They beat Baylor, they beat Texas, they've beaten Boise State. Again, not fantastic wins by any means, but one loss, Big 12 champion, beating Oklahoma twice. Do you think Oklahoma State has any chance of reaching the college football playoff?
Well, Blake, you got to remember, you just saw an AP poll submission that someone had him at number 3.
That's true.
I say no. So the answer is always either. For me, it's never always no or yes. It's like they need help from somebody else, because we obviously don't get questions that are, hey, can Alabama make the playoff? It's yeah, like they can. But a question like this, it's like, yeah, hypothetically, yes, for Oklahoma State. They just need other things to happen. Like they need to win outright on their own, right? But they have to do other things too. So, but they need other people to lose. So that's my thing. I just don't see those other people losing. So I think yes, they have a chance, but they would need a lot to happen, including, maybe another Bama loss in the conference championship game. If Bama loses in the conference championship game, maybe somehow they're out. Maybe. Yeah. I don't see it personally, but I think there's a chance. And then especially with the Big Ten, you've got 3 teams in the mix right there in Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. So a lot can happen there. So I just think that given some shakeups in the Big Ten and in the SEC, I think it's going to be a Big Ten school getting in. I think there might be 2 ACC or SEC schools getting in, and then we'll see what happens after that. But obviously nothing is certain in the Pac-12 either. So there's a shot, but they also have to do all their own stuff too and win out.
Right.
I think you covered it well. Basically, they're going to need help, and they have to win the Big 12.
Imagine there's a college football playoff with Oklahoma State, Cincinnati finally makes it in. I'm down. Guys, time for one final question. Now, this doesn't apply to you, so this is for Josh and I. Johnny Bear wants to know, is it too early to listen to Christmas music? It's currently November 9th.
I always say yes. I know people that are, Blake's got the Christmas tree up behind him, so I think I know what his answer is going to be. My answer is yes. I pulled up to the arena this morning and they were hanging up a giant wreath on the side of the arena across from our offices. I think it's too early. I know people want to push that in the holiday season, and that's great. And the people that are into that, that's great. For me, I'll start listening to Christmas music on December 1st. And I won't, just wake up and fall asleep to it, and it won't be in my head all day long. But if I'm going to listen to Christmas music, it will start December 1st, and it will go until January 1st.
My entire life growing up, I always had the same date when I'd fully commit and go all in. And it was Black Friday or just the day after Thanksgiving. Once Thanksgiving passed, I was like, all right, it's Christmas time. I accept it. But, having a girlfriend, moving in with the girlfriend, they like Christmassy time and whatnot. So last year, MJ put up the Christmas stuff early November. We were listening to tunes early. And I must say, and Short Round says right here, not going to lie, with how tough the past 2 years have been, I'm jamming to Christmas music on and off all of 2021. I must say, I do enjoy starting Christmas early. You get to enjoy it for a few extra weeks. It puts you in the mood. You're just always happy. I like it. I was against it for the longest time. I said, not me, nothing until after Thanksgiving. But as you see the trees up right here, I have a sports tree with a bunch of sports ornaments, got lights on the balcony. We're listening to Christmas music in the car all the time. I can't believe I turned into this, but that's just me. So Johnny, it's not too early. Lyle, from an outsider's perspective, as someone who is Jewish and does not celebrate Christmas, please provide your insight on if you think it's too early to celebrate Christmas and listen to Christmas music.
Now, Christmas music is great. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right. Lyle wore a Santa hat in Jerusalem
on Christmas and a Notre Dame shirt.
Still the greatest photo.
What an all-time photo.
Put it up on the screen, Blake.
I don't know how this happened. I think Lyle remembers. I think it was 2 years ago. It was Christmas Eve. I don't know how it was brought up. And it was brought up and everyone was like, we need to see this photo. And it's like Christmas Eve. It's like 7 p.m. And I sent a text to Lyle in the group chat. I'm like, Lyle, I'm sorry if you're busy. Please find that photo of you with the Santa hat and the Notre Dame shirt. And Lyle came up clutch like 5 or 10 minutes later. He had that photo. And everyone was like, Lyle's a king for this. Props to Lyle for doing it. And a short round saying he needs that photo ASAP. It's an all-timer.
I'm not even sure I still have it. It's too bad that it because that was a couple years ago. But anyway, to answer the question, I don't know. Maybe you guys can attest to this, but I feel like it just kind of drags out if you start on November 1st, at least to me. I know everybody's in the holiday spirit, but I feel like after Thanksgiving is like the good month time window to really listen to it. Like I said, I think Christmas music is fun. It's like, it's supposed to be like positive and upbeat, of course, because people like the holidays. I just feel like if you start on November 1st, it doesn't really feel like it's Christmas time yet. I feel like you're just coming off Halloween.
Yeah, I will say I'm not fully like feeling the vibes yet of Christmas. Like I feel like I'm just doing it. So we'll see. But like I said, I got the tree up. I got all this stuff up. Cash says that Thanksgiving is an all-time underrated holiday. I agree. I absolutely love Thanksgiving. That's a whole blast.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
You eat a bunch of crap. You watch football all day. What? I mean, that's what I do every weekend. So what's the difference,
guys? This last weekend was the first time in several weeks where I woke up, sat my butt on the couch, and just watched football all day long. Was the first time I've done that in weeks, and most of my show prep these last few weeks has been going back and looking at and watching highlights.
I will say I loved going to ASU football games. Those were the best, but not having to worry about the few hours prior, especially for you guys, the final year when you had to be there like 3 or 4 hours prior.
Yeah,
it's so nice knowing that you just don't have to do anything or be anywhere, where you can just watch the games all day, and Lyle can avoid watching the Notre Dame game on his phone while we're in the stands.
True.
Yeah, we would do that all the time.
All right, so guys, let's get to the pick'ems right now. A lot of games this week, so with only 3 of us, we can go through these fairly quickly. Very competitive week last week. Brady and I are still tied with 64. Josh with 62. Lyle, you're still trailing with 58. Couple weeks left, still anyone's game. Again, we have a lot of great games this weekend. Again, I don't have the rankings here. A lot of ranked matchups. I think we have 4 or 5 ranked matchups around that. So without further ado, let's get this underway. We got North Carolina at Pitt.
Man, well, we called that North Carolina win last week, didn't we, Lyle? I felt pretty confident about that one. No offense to Wake Forest. They're still a good team, but I felt really confident with that North Carolina pick last week. This week, I'm pretty confident taking Pitt. I think UNC was good. This week, I like Pitt at home. I mean, Pickett, I don't think we've had enough time to talk about him, unless I missed it last week when you guys did your Heisman talk. This is a guy who should
talked about Kenny Pickett.
Good, because he should be in the Heisman conversation. Yeah. Absolutely. So I like Pickett and Pitt.
Yeah, I think Pitt's a little bit of a better team than North Carolina. Plus, it's a home game for Pitt. Good win for the Tar Heels. I just don't know if they keep it up back-to-back weeks. So I'm going to take Pitt.
We were talking in the group chat, and that North Carolina game was an exciting and thrilling one. A lot of going back and forth. But Kenny Pickett's the real deal. I like Pitt this week, and plus they're at home, so that's definitely a bonus. Minnesota at Iowa.
This is a game of 2 teams I thought were going to be a little bit better this year, and man, has Iowa fallen off. Still ranked, right? I believe they're still in there. So I actually like Iowa at home, though. They'll do the wave to the hospital, and then they'll wave at Minnesota and say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm going to take Iowa.
Remember when Minnesota was ranked in the playoff rankings, and everyone's like, what the hell are they doing? And Then they, I think, scored a touchdown this week. I'm going to go with Iowa in typical Big Ten fashion. Lyle, over under 31 points in this game.
Over.
Barely, probably. A fantastic matchup from 20 years ago, but unfortunately for us, this is gross. Miami at Florida State.
This is another interesting one. I think Florida State at home could be interesting, but I think I'm going to take the Canes on the road this week, going into Tallahassee and getting a win.
I can't believe this game's even on the pick'ems, to be honest.
It should have been the worst of the worst. I honestly should have made it.
Yeah, I'll take Miami. I can't promise I'm going to divulge deeply into this game this weekend, but I will take Miami.
I should know this, but whoever Miami's quarterback is, he's been playing, I think, for 4 or 5 games. He's been like really damn good. Like the numbers he's been putting up has been fantastic. Again, I don't know his name. So I think that Miami's going to ride his hot hand, and I think they're going to take down Florida State. So keep an eye on the Hurricanes. Maybe they'll finish with 7, 8 wins this upcoming year. Boston College at Georgia Tech.
So Jurkovec was pretty good last week.
Can we just talk about that real quick? How he was supposed to be out for the season, and there were like no reports of like he's progressing well. He might return this week. I think he like released a statement on Twitter or something saying like I'm back, and he's back.
Yeah. They played pretty well last week. Sparked a big win for him. I like Jurkovec again this week at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech obviously runs a little bit of a different offense than most schools in Boston College. So obviously that poses a threat to any opposition that they'll go against. But I think pure talent-wise, especially now that Jurkovec's back, Boston College is just a little bit better. So I'm going to take the Eagles.
I'm going to go with Georgia Tech in this one. I think it'll be close. They're at home. I like that. Guys, we have 2 fun ones coming up. You guys know I love involving spreads in this. UConn travels to Clemson, where they'll face the Tigers. Clemson is a 41-point favorite as of right now. So, I sure hope Clemson wins this game. I think we all can bet on that. But will Clemson beat UConn by 41 points?
I originally had UConn, but a last-second change of heart. I'm going to take Clemson minus 41.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you had UConn straight up winning this game.
No, oh God, no.
Hey,
if I picked UConn, see, here's the thing. I told one of my colleagues who has been known to partake in viewing the Harris Highlight Show every once in a while. He said, "Should I super chat?" Which, hey, you should super chat. Support the show. We appreciate it. Helps us pay for our subscription to keep doing this. But anyway, he said, "Should I super chat?" I said, "If you super chat, I will let you submit a pick'em for me for any single game. This one and the next one were not going to be options. I would not let him submit a pick'em for this game. But I'm going to take Clemson to cover. I'm not picking UConn straight up, Lyle. You should though. I think you should do it.
I mean, I do need to get back in the pick'em race. So
and the next one too.
I feel like if I picked UConn and got it right, that should be like 4 points or something like that.
Yes. Lyle would get like a bonus of like 10 if that would be the case.
But
you would get however many they won by, plus that.
Well, as that is an enticing bet. However, I don't want to lose all credibility on this show, so I'm going to take Clemson.
I'm taking UConn plus the 41. Clemson's offense is so bad. I think UConn can hang around. But guys, if you think this is bad, let me introduce you to New Mexico State at Alabama with a spread of 51 points. I don't think I've seen a spread this high. I remember there was a game recently where I think Bama was a 49-point favorite a year or two ago, but we're in the 50s.
Wasn't ASU like week 1 against Southern Utah favored by something absurd?
It was like in the low. It was like 34, I think. And
Are you sure? I thought it was way higher than that.
If it might have been in the low 40s, if that, but it wasn't anything like in the high 40s or something.
Well, it doesn't matter what ASU's was. I'm taking the Ags straight up.
To win?
I'll take
51.
I'll take Bama to cover. This is another one. What's funny is What's funny is I considered not taking Clemson. I was going to take UConn to cover or to beat the spread, but this one immediately was like, nah, I've got Bama covering.
Yeah, I've got Bama covering. I mean, I guess the only chance they don't is if they pull their starters really early and don't quite get to the 51-point threshold. But I'm going to take my chances and take Bama.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where Bama should win by 90, but it's like the thing where they might be up 45-0 at halftime, put under their third stringers, and Nick Saban tells his team, run the ball the entire way and drain clock. Or if Bama's up by like 56, 57, somehow New Mexico miraculously scores a touchdown. I'm going to go, I took UConn plus the 41. I'm going to take Bama minus the 51 because New Mexico State's bad. Bama's fantastic. So again, what a spread like that. A few more games, guys. Arkansas at LSU.
This is an interesting one. I like what I've seen from Arkansas this year. In fact, I have not liked what I've seen from LSU this year. But they were in a position to beat Alabama last week, and in the long run did not play well enough to get the win. But they were in the game for a while. I actually like LSU to bounce back at home this week and beat Arkansas.
I'll take Arkansas on this one. I just think they're a little bit more talented. I mean, and credit to LSU for fighting till the very end against Alabama and giving them a pretty good scare. But I just have a little bit more confidence in Arkansas.
I don't. Did you guys hear the Miles Brennan's transferring?
Yeah,
I saw some tweets.
Has Max Johnson really played well enough to take that starting job? I don't think so.
I think Miles Brennan's hurt currently.
Yeah, I don't think he's played all year. He probably just wants a fresh start.
Yeah, well, they had said Coach O had said before the season that Max Johnson had played well enough to earn the starting job, but Miles Brennan was hurt. I think that's also something you might just say when your starting quarterback's hurt and you've got a guy who's not bad, who, in my opinion, has not been great.
Yeah, I saw some tweet that showed how much money he made off of the likeness deal and how he essentially made that much money to do nothing this year, which there should be a thing with how many players, how much they've made this year. DJ Uiagalelei, who made like $1 million to suck. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Arkansas. Oh, I have no idea. Notre Dame at Virginia.
Well, I'm gonna take Notre Dame. I did not even realize that Virginia was like 6-3 this year. They're not bad. I think this is one where Notre Dame goes in and maybe takes a little while to get going, but I like Notre Dame to get the win.
Yeah, this is their toughest game left. I mean, after this, they've got Georgia Tech and then Stanford. So
they'll lose one of those.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll take Notre Dame in this one. I think this one stays close. I think Virginia's been pretty good this year. And again, Notre Dame hasn't really overpowered that many teams this season. So I'll take the Irish, but I think it stays within 10.
I'll take Notre Dame as well, but Brennan Armstrong's been fantastic for Virginia. They have a really good offense. I wouldn't be shocked if Virginia upsets Notre Dame this week. You know what? For that reason, I'm going to take Virginia in the upset.
He convinced himself.
Yeah, I convinced
myself. He literally talked himself into it.
That's the definition of it. All right, guys. NC State at Wake Forest. The two best ACC teams this season.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season, North Carolina would have been storming the field after beating number 9 Wake Forest? This week I've actually got Wake Forest bouncing back. The game's going to be at home. They're obviously going to be upset about what happened last week. I think they rebound at home. I've got the Deacons. Do they call them that ever? Like Demon Deacons? Do they just call them Deacons?
My guess is the Deeks.
The Deeks? I think I've heard that.
That's my guess.
I've got the Deeks.
I feel like I've heard Demon Deacons.
I know it is Demon Deacons, but did they ever just call them the Deacons?
Where's Captain Rob when you need him?
Robert?
True.
Captain Rob, if you're out there.
Let us know.
Please. Please.
Yeah, I'll take Wake Forest to turn it around and get a win.
Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest, they should have won this past weekend. They just kind of, collapsed at the end. I'm going to go with Wake Forest at home. Nevada at San Diego State.
Look. Burdale Robbins last week. Big touchdown for Nevada. It was a guy that I covered in high school a couple times. He's pretty good. Went to Los Angeles High School. Didn't know that was a thing until we played him in high school my senior year, and then I covered him 2 more times throughout the rest of the season. I think it's a small school, but he's pretty good. I'm still going to take San Diego State at home in Carson, California, in the LA area, not San Diego. But I think I'm going to take the Aztecs.
Yeah, I agree. San Diego State's had a good year, and I think they keep it rolling.
Speaking of Carson Strong, the quarterback for Nevada, is a guy that many people think is a first-round caliber quarterback. Definitely a name to keep an eye on. He's been great this season. Nevada's low-key been good as well. I got them in the upset. Carson Strong goes to Carson, California, home of San Diego State, and they pull off the win. Oklahoma at Baylor.
This one's going to be a shootout, but I'm going to take the Sooners on the road.
Yeah, I've got Oklahoma in this one.
It's funny how Baylor continues to win. They're ranked like 13. They have 1 loss, but I just feel like I can't give them the respect they deserve. Like, I just can't buy in. I feel like nobody's able to buy in. Oklahoma, I think, wins this game. But, yeah, give me points. Give me lots of points. And whatever the outcome is, I don't care. I just want there to be a lot of points. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma for my points perspective. Mississippi State at Auburn.
Let me confirm briefly. Was Mississippi State ranked this week in the college football playoff ranking?
I don't know. I can't remember if they won or lost this past weekend. I have a feeling they lost, and they're not in the rankings anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. Unless I was looking at the wrong thing. I'm pretty sure Mississippi State was ranked last week at like 5-4.
They lost. Yeah, they're now 5-4. They had 3 losses last week at 5-3, and they were ranked 17. But
yeah, it's a no from me, guys. I'm gonna take mighty Bo Nix at home.
Well, you don't trust the local Mississippi State Tanner to come out and hit a few field goals to get Mississippi State the win?
No.
God, that Mike Leach quote was great. For those who didn't hear, he's holding open tryouts at kicker at Mississippi State.
I did not hear that.
Yeah. In his press conference, he came out and was like, yeah, anybody who's at school, anybody can just come on down, try out for kicker. I wonder how that's going. And shout out. So Brandon Reese lost his job then, I guess, if he's making a statement like that.
Yeah.
Is that where he's at now?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Oh, God.
So... yeah, for that reason, I'm going to take Auburn.
Is anyone really convinced his name is Reese?
I don't know.
I mean, I think he was just messing around.
What, like Travis Kelce saying his last name's Kels?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though no one still calls him Kels.
Right. Yeah, maybe he was just kind of messing with everybody.
I hate to do it, but I got to ride with Bo Nix. I know you should never have to do it, but you got to hear. Michigan at Penn State, some pretty big Big Ten implications here. I don't think Penn State is ranked anymore. Let me just quickly vet that. They are not, because they're now 6-3 on the season, but still at Penn State, a tough place to pick up a win in Michigan. They're playing with fire here. They still haven't lost a game. Josh, again, I'm sorry. I know they lost 1 game. That's right, to Michigan State. Your hot take from earlier in the year is just not looking so good anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not going to happen this year, guys. I'm really sorry. I mentioned how it's kind of dumb that the committee said, hey, we value head-to-head wins, and we're going to put Oregon over Ohio State. But I know Michigan beat Michigan State, but no, Michigan State's going to be or Michigan State beat Michigan, but we're going to rank the Spartans behind Michigan. It's fine. Nobody ask any questions. Maybe no one will notice. I don't think that'll matter after this week. I think Penn State pulls off what we'll call an upset at home. I believe the line is even, though, right? Yeah. I'm going to go with the rankings and the records here and say that Penn State gets what we'll call an upset at home.
I'm going to take Michigan. I just think they're a little bit of a better team. I still can't get that Penn State-Iowa game out of my head. And I think, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Michigan's going to end up in the playoff, but I do think they're a solid team. So I think they'll take care of business against Penn State.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michigan, but again, the only reason Penn State was down those couple of weeks was because they didn't have Sean Clifford, and that backup quarterback actually looked worse than Bo Nix out there. But I'm going to go with Michigan, but I think this is going to be a gross Big Ten game. While over under 36 points, what do you like?
Going under in that one.
It could be the over under is 11 points, and I'll probably take the under. Texas A&M at Ole Miss.
I'm a big fan of points in this game, and I think that Ole Miss is going to score more points than Texas A&M. So I'm going to take the Rebels at home.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss. Texas A&M's quietly crawled up the rankings, but I think Ole Miss, just with Matt Corral under center, is going to have the better day.
Yeah, I mean, A&M's, they had those back-to-back losses earlier in the season, but they've been fantastic since. Ole Miss, they're at home. Their offense is really good. Texas A&M has a really good defense. It'll be interesting to see. I just don't think A&M's offense can keep up with Ole Miss, so I'm going to go with Matt Corral and the Rebs. We got the worst of the worst, guys. A battle of two fantastic places, Hawaii, Vegas. Where would you rather go, Josh?
Well, that's a great question. That's a really good question. So I think if I'm going on vacation, I think I'd want to go to Hawaii. I think there's a lot to do. You know, there's a bunch of different places to see. I think that'd be great. And I have been to Hawaii. I've also been to Vegas. And if I could pick a place right now to get a bunch of the guys together and go, I would go to Vegas. I think that would be fun. I'd do a road trip to Vegas anytime with the group. But it comes down to this. Have I been to Hawaii? Have I been to Las Vegas? I've been to both. I've been to Las Vegas more recently than I've been to Hawaii. However, there was a time where I owned a Hawaii Warriors football t-shirt. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I don't know where it is. I've misplaced it. So in hopes that I will find it one day, my black Hawaii Warriors t-shirt that says Hawaii football across the front with the big logo. I hope I find it. I'm taking the bows, man. I'm going with Hawaii.
You know, when I was young, we went to Hawaii too. It's the only time I've been, and I feel like this is kind of an on-brand story for me, even back when I was 9, 10 years old. But when we were in Oahu for a couple of days before we went to Maui, I begged my parents to take us over to Aloha Stadium, which is where Hawaii plays. And my reasoning was, well, that's where they play the Pro Bowl. I want to go see where all the Pro Bowlers play. Like I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and only to get older and realize, man, that is the worst All-Star game you can possibly draw up. But back then I thought it was amazing. And you know what? We showed up and I realized it wasn't some amazing place, because not only was it not a very nice stadium, but there's no locks or anything on the gate. We could just walk in. We look around, there's literally nobody there, and somebody's like, yeah, you guys can head out on the field for a few minutes if you want. And we just walked right out on the field at Aloha Stadium. And you know what? I can go my whole life without seeing Sam Boyd Stadium. Aloha Stadium, cool place, sort of. It's in Hawaii. Sam Boyd, I can live with that.
I've been to Sam Boyd Stadium. Should I have picked them?
I'm taking Hawaii.
Now, I will say this, guys. I do believe that Sam Boyd either was imploded or it's about to, because I think they play all their games now at the Death Star. So there is that. And also, while Aloha Stadium, because I have been there as well, and I can agree, that place is horrifying. They're, I think, doing a bunch of renovations for it, but they're playing, I think Josh said this a few months back, they're playing in this high school stadium. It's or it's their practice facility.
They built a fake stadium or something like that.
Yeah. So they're there, and like I said, I think they're at the Death Star here. So I forget, Lyle. Did you make your pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm going to take Hawaii as well. Just UNLV. I think they only have one win. I think they have the second longest losing streak in the nation before Arizona. So I'm going to go with Hawaii. I see Josh is looking up some sort of research over there.
Guys, I've for the last several minutes, I've been looking to see if Brandon Reese, his name is actually Reese, and what they're going with now at Mississippi State. He's not even in the media guide. He's not even on the pronunciation guide. So I bet you anything he's going with Ruiz now.
He probably just doesn't even care. All right, guys, we'll wrap this up with Arizona State at Washington. Washington will be without their head coach because he hit a player that was wearing a helmet or pushed him. Did you guys see the video of Lake? I mean, it wasn't anything too intense.
Definitely wasn't great.
It wasn't a great look, but meanwhile, their offensive coordinator got fired because that team's a mess. Like, that offense is pretty brutal.
You know what that means, boys.
Loss.
Let me see what the spread in this game is.
I believe it's ASU -5.5.
I did say last week, Josh, I would put my entire future on SC plus the 9.5 against ASU. I had a bet with my grandpa where, unfortunately, I was forced to take ASU -9.5, and they somehow covered.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Well, I mean, there also was that late touchdown, too.
That's true.
So I don't know if it's a bad beat, but it was kind of a late touchdown. Put it away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, this wasn't a bad beat, but good Lord, that Washington punt out of the end zone or the snap out of the end zone on the punt was unreal. Like, it wasn't even they fumbled it and they couldn't pick it up and it rolled out of the end zone. It was just the punter looked up as if he was watching a home run sail over the fence by 100 feet. It was just like, oh, well, that's going into the stands.
Also, guys, so here's the thing. Like, I know you're probably going to lose, right? And also you've got you've got 3/4 of the field to go. You had like 75 yards to go or whatever. It was more than that. But it's 4th down and you're losing. Like, shouldn't you go for that? Like, you're kind of out of time, right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they thought they had they had 2 timeouts, but still, there was like 1:20 to go or something. It's like, what are you doing? Like, go for it.
That decision-making last week, and then without your offensive coordinator and head coach this week against Arizona State. The last time I confidently picked ASU, they lost. So I'm going to not so confidently, but confidently pick ASU on the road this week. And I don't know the last time ASU won at UW, but I think it's been a while. I'm going to take the Sun Devils on the road in Seattle this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take ASU too. And this is a game they really, really should win. Or else, again, without Lake, without John Donovan, Washington's OC, with how the UW offense has looked, I mean, they really have to win this one. So I'm going to take ASU.
Yeah, Washington's so bad. But like Josh said, I don't know when the last time ASU won at Washington was. I'll take ASU.
You want me to find out?
The spread's only 5.5, which I feel like it should be a whole lot more if that's the case, which makes me a little nervous. But I'll take the Devs. So, yeah, before we wrap it up, Josh, do you have when the last time they
let's see. Let's see. So, also, while we're waiting, why don't we get a short round question ready? So, the all-time series is ASU up 20-17. The current win streak is Washington 1 because ASU beat them in 2017 in Tempe. The longest win streak, ASU won 10 straight. So I'm going to guess it was fairly recent. I can't see a list, though.
Here, I'll get it up for you.
Hang on. Here we go. In Tempe, the last time ASU won was actually 2014 when the Todd Graminator beat Washington 24-10 in Seattle.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Which we made it through the entire Hawaii UNLV game without even mentioning Todd Graham.
Disappointing.
What a guy.
He was my first thought, but then I was like, wait a minute. I've got that t-shirt somewhere.
All good. Well, short round's nowhere to be found as of right now, so we'll save one of his future questions for a future show. But that does wrap up this week's edition of the Harris Highlights Show. Again, make sure to follow us on Twitter at the HH Show _. A lot of good stuff over there. A lot of fun times taking place. Again, if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, hit us up over there. Hit up Lyle in those DMs. Talk college football with him. Talk Notre Dame with him. If you want to talk Ontario Reign hockey with Josh, I don't follow hockey, but I think the Kings and Reign are playing some really good hockey. So,
well, what I'll tell you this is the 2 longest win streaks in hockey belong to the LA Kings in the NHL at 6 wins. They just won in overtime in Montreal, and the Ontario Reign have won 8 straight games. Those are the 2 longest win streaks in hockey right now.
Well, there you go. So, as they say, let's do that hockey. So,
Let's
again,
do it.
thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for a future episode in the coming weeks. Maybe next Tuesday, maybe next Wednesday. Maybe we just never do an episode again. Hey, we'll just see what we're feeling. But a lot of great games this upcoming weekend for college football. Again, interact with us on Twitter. Share with us your thoughts. Drop comments down below. But again, as always, thank you so much for watching. For Josh Schaefer from Eastvale, I think is where it is. Yeah, Eastvale. Lyle Goldstein from his living room where I just saw him recently about a couple minutes ago working on some more carpet stuff going up the stairs. So Lyle still has to deal with that, unfortunately. This has been Blake Harris from the Chateau in beautiful Monrovia, California. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. And have a what does Ron Burgundy say at the end of Anchorman 2? Don't just have a great day. Have an American day.